10 a.m. Very good Tuesday morning to you, everybody. You're watching 11Alive Plus with you live from the streaming center for the next hour, bringing you context of the day's big headlines. We're talking with some guests, and as always, we start things off with a check of the weather. Chesley says clouds around here today, but I don't think anybody's complaining.
No, I wouldn't. With the temperatures as warm as they're going to be,
Yeah.
Why would you? You know, you can wear a T-shirt out there this afternoon. It's going to be so nice as far as the temperatures go. We got clouds filling in. We're going to start you off with the sunshine, obviously, but clouds will fill in. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds for the rest of the afternoon. Fog getting a little bit better. We had it down just to the southeast of the city of Atlanta. Atlanta itself down to a half-mile visibility in some spots, but it is lifting, and so that's good news, and we'll continue to lift as we head through the rest of the morning. Here we are at 10 o'clock hour, and temperatures right at 52 degrees in the city. A couple 40s out there as well, like Marietta at 47, 49 in Carrollton. 50s just about everywhere else you look. So we're warming up, folks. We'll head on up to 65 degrees by noon, 71 for your afternoon high temperature for today. Notice that rain back off to the west of us. That is moving in our direction. It won't arrive here until the wee hours of the morning on Wednesday. Wednesday morning will be a soggy commute for us. We'll have some scattered showers around that will last right on through early afternoon. It should be out of the way by the time we get to the latter afternoon. High pressure down to the south, bringing us that southerly flow for today. So despite the clouds, temperatures will begin to heat up. I think it's going to help us to stay warm really right on through the week. You're looking at a 6 to 10-day temperature outlook. It shows temperatures above average, especially for this time of year. Our average high would be 57. We're going to stay in the 60s for the next couple of days and then down to the 50s as we head into the weekend. 2 chances for rain coming our way, which is why we're going to be slightly above average as far as the rainfall goes. Starting tomorrow at 40% chance, again, mainly during the morning. Catch a break by the afternoon. Thursday looks nice, and then Friday, Saturday, the chance of rain starts to increase once again. In fact, of the weekend days, Sunday will be the worst as far as the rainfall goes. We need it, though, because of the drought conditions that's over our area. Forecast track model shows those clouds in and out. Here comes that rain, scattered or isolated at least through overnight, becoming more scattered. Once we get to the early morning hours, will be with us right on through about 12 o'clock before it begins to subside. Clouds get out of the way. We'll get the sunshine back in here looking pretty good, and we'll be feeling pretty good as well. Again, 65 degrees for the high on Wednesday. Thursday will be the same. Friday, we're down to 62, down to 59 on Saturday, which is love day. We're looking at 61 for the high temperature on Sunday. Some folks may be thinking to hold off their Saturday plans because you know how crowded it is around here in Atlanta for for Valentine's Day. But then Sunday will be the soggiest of the two. You got a 70% chance for that rain. Monday will start to clear it out as we go back to work and back to school.
Fun fact, Valentine's Day next year falls on Super Bowl Sunday.
You know, I heard that.
For the first time ever.
Why so late?
I don't know.
Huh.
And then President's Day is the next day. So
Wow.
you have this federal holiday. You're going to maybe sleep in for a lot of folks.
Maybe that's why they did it.
It's going to be an interesting relationship test. Super Bowl Sunday and Valentine's Day.
Well, you better start talking your young ladies into liking your football team.
Maybe we can use this 14th, 15th, fifth Monday day off as a way to finally get Super Bowl Monday to be a federal holiday.
Exactly.
Wow,
Test
yeah.
it out.
They've been
That would
talking
be
about
nice,
it.
yeah.
You know, 20-something million people called out sick to work yesterday.
Wow.
Is the usual survey data. So maybe something there. Chesley, question for you. You are always, every year on the Peachtree Road Race, you're always there on Cardiac Hill, Hope Hill, whatever you want to call it. In the last half hour, we just learned AJC no longer the title sponsor.
What?
It's now Northside Hospitals.
Oh, wow. Well, that makes sense. I don't know. I mean, we have changed as well, so I don't know if I'll be on Cardiac Hill. In fact, I remember Mayor Kasim Reed wanting to rename the hill after me.
Oh, yeah?
I've been there forever. I've been there for a number of years now. But while he was mayor, he was thinking, we're going to name this hill after you. It never happened. So I don't know. And will I be there next year? I don't know.
It's a Saturday.
I'll be there.
I hope so.
Next year. Then.
I hope so.
I'll be there. Yeah.
This year is this summer. It's a Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Next summer, probably.
Yeah,
Monday or
I've
something
been there
like
on Sundays. I've been there on Monday. Every day of the week. But I've been doing it for so long. But that's interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So we'll see.
Big changes at the paper. But you know what? With a name like Cardiac Hill, it makes sense for Northside Hospital to be the sponsor.
Absolutely. And I've seen my fair share of people losing it coming up to the hill. So that's a perfect name for it.
All right, Chesley, thanks.
You got it.
Your time is 10:05 this morning. Let's get to some of the day's headlines. Just getting some new information in from the Cobb County Police about a train versus car incident from around 2 o'clock this morning. Take a look at the video. It happened over on East Ponce de Leon Avenue and North Clarendon Avenue. This is what we know from police. The car was stopped on the tracks, and the male driver was trying to get the female passenger out of the car before the train arrived, but not in time. The man who was driving was hit and killed, died at the scene. The female passenger went to the hospital. She's in critical condition. That investigation ongoing. CSX issued a statement saying that their heart goes out to those who are impacted by this tragic incident. They say they will continue to support local law enforcement as they complete this investigation. All right, other news we're following for you. The Colin Gray trial now in day 2 of jury selection. He is the father of the accused Appalachia High School shooter. 4 people were killed in that shooting at Appalachia High School back in September of 2024. The son has yet to stand trial. The father, his trial now moving forward. Jury selection began yesterday. They called a little more than a dozen people up to ask them all sorts of questions. This is going on in Hall County. They had to move the jury selection venue there to try to seat an impartial jury in a case that got national attention when it happened. But Colin Gray, who you just saw there a moment ago on your screen, is going to be standing trial for his part in this case. Prosecutors trying to say that he gave the gun used in this case to his son, and the whole thing could have been prevented had that not happened. So it's going to be an interesting trial as that develops. And Reams, this is going to be one that we are going to be watching very closely from here in the 11Alive streaming center as well.
Yes, it will be. We'll be streaming live coverage once it gets underway. Right now, jury selection, no cameras allowed. So that's why we have no new footage. We have a reporter, Grace King, in the courtroom every day for jury selection. Once it moves from Hall County to the actual trial venue with that jury from a different county, we will have live coverage on 11Alive Plus from opening statements to closing arguments.
Yeah, and of course we are always careful not to show any jurors when we are covering a trial. It's part of the process, part of the rules, to not show their face, to give away their identities. And so obviously during voir dire, the jury selection process, we're not going to be in there rolling video for that. Potentially a jury could be seated as soon as Wednesday in the Colin Gray case, and opening statements could begin then or perhaps Thursday. As Reams was telling you, we're going to be watching it closely. We are watching closely in the meantime this trial over in Athens, the Tara Baker murder trial, in its second week with a witness on stand right now. Let's go ahead and listen in.
About anything that happened while they were at truck customs in the afternoon.
He mentioned the page in detail, and then he talked about how they left Chris's truck there and he drove him to Athens. He didn't want Chris to have to make that drive, but he drove him all the way to Athens.
Did he say anything about any fears that Mr. Melton had, or any actions that Mr. Melton took as they drove to Athens?
No, he said that while they were in the truck that Chris was calling information, trying to track down other parents of the girls there and trying to make contact as he drove from that area. I'll just say Loganville because it's the easiest there, but as they drove down from Loganville to Athens, he was trying to get information and see if he could make contact with family members.
Okay. And did he say anything to you about any types of worries or fears that Mr. Melton had?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay.
In response to the objection.
Judge, under 24-8-8035, past recollection recorded, I believe yesterday during Mr. McCurdy's testimony, the foundation for that was laid, and this would be that past recollection recorded, being admitted under exception to the hearsay rule of 24-8-8035.
All right. Mr. Cruz.
Your Honor, I'm pulling up the law. Okay, so 8035 does not apply in this case. The state they wanted to use past recorded recollection. It's not Detective Ricketts who they would use it with. It was Josh McCourty who they could use it with. I'm becoming concerned that the state is trying to use Ricketts to override everybody else's testimony. So I would just ask the Honorable Court to instruct the state not to elicit hearsay. If it's something that's a personal observation of Detective Ricketts, that's lawful, that's legal. As far as just going through witnesses and saying, hey, what do they say about this, what do they say about that, I believe that is improper.
Okay. But your objection is hearsay.
It is.
I'm going to sustain the objection.
And, okay, so I'm going to move forward then, Detective Ricketts, and talk to you. You've already mentioned that you had a conversation with Mr. Teeter, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. I don't think we need to get into the contents of that conversation, but I do want to go forward with you to January 21st of 2001. Did you have contact with Mr. Melton again on that day?
I did. He voluntarily came back and met with us.
Okay. When Mr. Melton met with you, did he have anybody else present with him?
His family was with him, but they came back with him, but his dad was with him.
Okay. When you spoke with him, and I think you already mentioned taking photographs of him, who all was present when that was happening?
Just Chris and Detective Newton and myself.
Okay. And did Mr. Melton give you any additional information beyond what he told you on Friday evening about where he was on Friday morning?
We went back over the timeline of events from Friday, and Chris added that he had stopped by the Wachovia Bank in Loganville just after 9, which he didn't mention on Friday, which we took note of that. And then on Monday, some other detectives went to run that to ground. That information wasn't passed on a Friday, but Chris talked about it with me on Sunday. Everything else pretty much stayed the same except for that.
All right. And so when he was meeting with y'all on January 21st, did anything come up regarding a blood sample?
Yes, toward the end of our conversation at the police department, we talked about the crime scene, things of that nature. It's the first time that I brought up with Chris that there was the possibility that Tara had been sexually assaulted. We had a brief conversation about DNA and some things of that nature, and I told him that at some point we would need to get consent and he would need to do a sample for us, and he agreed. So a warrant wasn't necessary, but he agreed to go with us to Athens Regional or Piedmont Hospital to do that.
Did you?
Witnesses recalling 25 years ago, the Tara Baker murder trial, cold case with the accused now on trial for murder. Testimony right there, and you can watch it live right now on the 11Alive Plus app by scrolling down and then over. You can start watching that right now in full, and we will keep an eye on developments here for you in the streaming center. But now on to other news of the morning, and Ghislaine Maxwell, the co-conspirator of sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, says she will answer lawmakers' questions if she gets clemency from President Trump. Maxwell pleaded the fifth for every question asked by the House Oversight Committee Monday. It was the same day that lawmakers had the chance to review unredacted Epstein files. Let's get more from Alice Barr on Capitol Hill.
Hi there. Lawmakers have serious questions about what the Justice Department chose to redact and why. Looking for answers today as they begin reviewing unredacted Epstein files and see an appearance from Epstein's jailed accomplice. This morning, a renewed spotlight on the Jeffrey Epstein files, with a group of survivors appearing in a powerful PSA during the Super Bowl.
We're standing together.
Standing together.
Because this girl deserves the truth.
The video points to the 3 million files still not released and calls on viewers to demand transparency from the Attorney General. Starting today, members of Congress can begin reviewing the unredacted version of the millions of pages the Justice Department has released on the late sex offender. Lawmakers coming armed with questions.
Where are the rest of the documents? Why Why did they release victims' names?
Members of the House Oversight Committee also getting a look today at Epstein accomplice Ghislaine Maxwell, who's set to be deposed in a virtual appearance from the Texas prison camp where she's serving her 20-year sex trafficking sentence. Her attorneys have told the committee she plans to plead the Fifth and won't answer questions. It all comes as lawmakers are facing down a Friday deadline when the Department of Homeland Security is set to run out of funding unless negotiators can reach agreement on reforms to ICE and Border Patrol's immigration enforcement.
They've gone way too far, and the American people want them reined in.
Republicans have signaled openness to some Democrat demands, calling others non-starters.
I'll tell you what's not going to be in there: amnesty for illegal aliens. I'll tell you what's not going to be there: stripping away protections for law enforcement officers that are trying to protect themselves.
Pressure building in a big week on Capitol Hill. In the traditional Super Bowl presidential interview, President Trump and NBC's Tom Yamas zeroed in on the economy, with the president again asserting he inherited a mess, but saying we are in the Trump economy now, and pointing to strong GDP growth, even as polling shows many Americans frustrated with stubbornly high prices. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
All right, your time is 10:16. You are watching 11Alive Plus, and we're going to take a quick break, and we will see you again in just a few minutes. All right, we just brought you news from Capitol Hill regarding Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, but another big week there, as there is now testimony going on revolving around the Department of Homeland Security. This is a live look at an oversight hearing right now. Top Trump immigration officials set to testify before these House members about oversight involving the shooting deaths of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, of course, by ICE agents in Minneapolis. Let's listen in for a few moments.
We called on Acting Director Todd Lyons to testify at the committee's hearing 3 weeks ago. We called on Acting Unfortunately, he turned down the committee's invitation 3 weeks ago. This is part of a pattern of the Trump administration's refusal to comply with regular congressional oversight. This is part of a pattern. Committee Democrats have sent multiple letters to ICE and CBP on critical issues, but most of them, 10, have gone unanswered.
Just give us a moment. We are working to fix this audio. I can go ahead and just fill you in on what we are watching here. Those top Trump administration officials testifying before that House Oversight Committee about the Department of Homeland Security. It comes after the shooting deaths of 2 American citizens by ICE agents, Alex Preddy and Renee Good, in Minneapolis last month. Lawmakers on this House Homeland Security Committee hearing testimony from folks including the acting director of ICE. Let's try listening in again.
Who parted to a lawsuit to try to get ICE to just follow the law that says members of Congress can visit ICE facilities and present themselves at any time. So I understand that it's still being litigated, but I've been given authority to go, and I plan to do it this week just to test ICE's adherence to the law. Mr. Lyons is here today, nearly a month after we invited him. I guess DHS needed time to get his story straight before he came to testify under oath. Fearing more violence from federal law enforcement, Democrats have also called on DHS to rein in immigration agents and their brutal attacks on Americans immediately following Ms. Good's murder. But DHS ignored our pleas. Instead, Greg Vino, who styled himself in Nazi attire and takes joy in deploying tear gas at Americans, continued to roam around Minneapolis with his masked gang, terrorizing people and violating their constitutional rights. And tragically, our worst fears were realized. Just days after the hearing, Mr. Lyons refused to participate in. CBP personnel shot Alex Preddy, and he was face down on Minneapolis' sidewalk, killing him in broad daylight. In the video of the incident, a DHS agent can be seen cheering Mr. Preddy's death. Americans watched the video in horror. Yet once again, Secretary Noem gaslit the public, made up a demonstrably false story about Mr. Preddy and blamed the victim for his own death. Mr. Preddy was a law-abiding U.S. citizen and a VA nurse who dedicated his career to caring for our veterans. Mr. Chairman, at our last month hearing, I asked for a moment of silence in the memory of Renee Good. Today, with great sadness about another American killed at the hands of DHS, I asked that the committee observe a moment of silence in honor of Alex Preddy. Thank you. The slaying of Ms. Good and Mr. Preddy by DHS are the most tragic examples of what is wrong with Trump's DHS, but far from the only ones. Last fall, a Border Patrol agent shot Miramar Martinez, a U.S. citizen and preschool teacher from Chicago, 5 times. The agent bragged in text messages about shooting her, saying, quote, "I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes." But that in your book, boys. Again, the Trump administration tried to blame Ms. Martinez, the victim, but prosecutors dropped charges against her when it became apparent that the evidence contradicted the Border Patrol's phony account. Unlike Ms. Good's and Mr. Preddy's, we can no longer tell their stories. Ms. Martinez has shared her story about what Trump's DHS did to her. I want to play a bit of the video here because people need to see what ICE and CBP are doing to Americans.
So this is the first one I realized. I was like, oh, it's just a pepper pellet, but no. And then I got shot right here. And then I have a wound on the side of my chest right here. And then I got 2 holes in my thigh. And then right here.
Wow.
Right here.
Wow. You're covered in
Wounds, yeah. And I want people to see like what's going on, like the type of stuff they're doing.
What happened to Miss Martinez, Miss Good, and Mr. Preety is a scourge on this country and shameful chapter in our nation's history, but tragically, there's more. DHS agents recently used a 5-year-old Ecuadorian boy, Lehman Ramos, as bait to lure his family members outside their home to arrest them. The family had entered the country legally as asylum seekers and were living in Minnesota while awaiting their immigration proceedings. DHS sent the little boy and his father to detention in Texas for over a week. Thankfully, a judge ordered him released, slamming DHS for its, and I quote, incompetently implemented deportation campaign. Incompetently implemented deportation campaign is putting it nicely, especially as it relates to small children. More apt in the Bible, quote from John 11, chapter 35th, referenced at the end of the judge's opinion, Jesus wept. DHS personnel are now forcing their way into private homes without a judicial warrant in violation of the Fourth Amendment. In one recent incident, ICE dragged a U.S. citizen from his home at gunpoint in underwear before realizing they had picked up the wrong person. The person ICE was actually looking for was sitting in jail in Minnesota. The Minnesota Department of Corrections says that ICE had this information all along. Bystander videos from Minneapolis and cities around the country show ICE and CBP personnel behaving like unprofessional goons, cursing at bystanders and mooning people from their hotel rooms. News reports have a Border Patrol agent was found passed out, drunk, and covered in vomit in a vehicle. And ICE personnel apparently stole a child's phone and sold it for cash. It's an embarrassment, and DHS's so-called leadership should be ashamed.
All right, you are listening to the House Homeland Security Committee speaking with the acting director of ICE. Also watching stocks as the Dow has hit another new record high, crossing that 50,000 threshold on Friday. It is well over it again today, with the Dow up more than 250 points. We are also watching some Epstein survivors set to speak very soon. Also happening right now, remember those monks who were traveling through Atlanta? They came through parts of North Georgia. Well, felt like a lifetime ago. I guess it was just a few weeks ago. Well, they have now made their way to D.C., and they are speaking. Let's listen in.
Mostly of students. A lot of students. Of course, this is university. It's more for the student, right? Students, are you stressed? Because of schoolwork? Yes? Because of that goal that you set for yourself? Every day, you're stressed. You try to stay up all night trying to figure out that problem, that schoolwork. And the more you're trying, the more you're tired and suffer. And yet, you still could not figure it out. And now you live with anxiety and depression. And of course, after all that effort, if you fail, you'll be disappointed and you'll be mad at yourself so much. And now you're even worse in depression. How do we change that? How do we work through it without mindfulness? Instead of pushing yourself, all you need to do is just take a break. Take a deep breath as much as you want because it's free. The air is free. Take a deep breath and then concentrate on your breathing. Add awareness to each and every breath going in and out. Naturally, knowing each breath going in, each breath going out. When thought arises, don't try to eliminate or push it away. Simply just observe that thought, acknowledge that thought as thought, silently come back here with breathing.
All right, those are the monks who not too long ago were passing through Atlanta, Georgia. They have now walked to Washington, D.C. I believe they started in Texas, so it was quite the journey. It has now ended, and you are listening live. That's the great thing about what we can do here in the streaming center. Reeves over there is watching things from all over the country, and then he says, hey, Dan, we should listen in on the monks. We have the Epstein survivors speaking here pretty soon. We have that House committee we were watching. And, oh, by the way, local news as well. We're talking about a plane that came down on a highway in Gainesville when we see you in just a couple minutes. Hey, we are back. It is good to be with you here on 11Alive Plus, 10:30 this morning, a couple minutes after 10:30. And now to those dramatic images out of Gainesville, a small plane making an emergency landing on a busy street after one of the pilots radioed what he thought would be his last message to his family. It was quite the scene yesterday. You were looking at video from Ruben Lugo, an eyewitness who captured that. He said the plane came right over his head, landed about 50 feet away. I will tell you, we were all set to speak to Ruben this morning. We had that interview lined up, but we have not heard from him this morning, and that's okay. We just wanted to get his firsthand account of what he saw there yesterday, but we apologize for not being able to bring you that interview this morning. We just haven't been able to make contact with him this morning. We do, however, have this story from NBC's Tom Costello. Yes, it made national news yesterday, what happened right here in our own backyard.
Stunning video from Gainesville, Georgia captured the moment a single-engine Beechcraft Bonanza crashed into a busy intersection. On board, 2 pilots, including a student.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Just seconds earlier, one of them radioed a goodbye.
We're not going to make it. Please tell my wife, Molly, I love her, and my parents. I love them so much.
The plane careened down the road, slamming into 3 vehicles, a fuel tank embedded in the back of an SUV, the driver covered in fuel. The plane had taken off from a nearby airport and was trying to turn back when it developed engine trouble. Amazingly, only 2 people suffered minor injuries. Both pilots walked away.
The fact that they were able to land in the middle of hundreds of vehicles and only hit 3 of them, no power lines, is very remarkable.
The Bonanza is considered one of the best general aviation planes in the air. Tonight, the FAA is investigating.
And, I mean, that's one of the most incredible things about this. When you look at that video, can we see that again from Ruben? Look at the power lines here. Talk about threading a needle, how he was able to get through there without being caught up in the lines without landing on top of those vehicles that are stopped there at that light. Look at that, how close it could have been. Look, this pilot is being credited this morning for what he was able to pull off yesterday in Gainesville. In fact, the airport director for Gainesville was there at the scene, shook the pilot's hand and congratulated him on an emergency landing. Well done. Because nobody was hurt in this case. It's in fact miraculous that the pilots inside were able to walk away uninjured. And everybody has quite the story to tell who witnessed that. Something you don't see every day. All right, we are watching a few big items this morning, most out of the nation's capital, happening right now. You see it here in the triple box. The House Homeland Security Committee is questioning the acting ICE director after those two deadly shootings back-to-back in Minneapolis of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Then you have the Walk for Peace involving monks. They just wrapped up their walk in D.C., and what a walk it has been. They passed through North Georgia. They started in Texas. It's finally over, and they're giving some final thoughts. And we are hearing from some Epstein survivors speaking right now on Capitol Hill. I believe they are speaking. If they are not speaking at this very moment, they are getting ready to. I don't believe anybody has stepped up to the podium yet. So we will be hearing from those Epstein survivors here very shortly. Reams, it's just shaping up to be one of those busy mornings, not just here at home, but also nationwide.
Every morning is a busy morning going on.
You want to talk about the Peachtree Road Race while we have folks, while we wait on the Epstein victims to speak?
Let's big news coming out of there today.
This was big news because this just came down to us literally an hour ago. The Peachtree Road Race, which so many of you know, July 4th, the 10K that goes through downtown Atlanta. Some 50,000 people participated every year. It has a new sponsor this year, a new title sponsor. So Reams, no longer the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. What is it?
It is the Northside Hospital Peachtree Road Race, 57th running, taking place Saturday, July 4th.
Okay. Wow.
So
big change.
Big change.
Big change, no doubt. So that's coming up July 4th. We'll be watching for that. All right, we told you about that emergency plane landing, and we were hoping to speak with the eyewitness. We just heard from him. Reams, he's going to try talking to us for 2:30 today.
2:30. The news with Zach Merchant right where you're sitting. That'll be good.
That's the thing. We're on air all the time now from the streaming center, and we love talking with real folks.
Exactly.
What's going on in their lives, what they've witnessed. And this is a gentleman who witnessed an emergency landing of a plane yesterday in Gainesville. He's set to talk to us at 2:30 today, so be looking for that here on 11Alive Plus.
Let's listen in on this House Homeland Security Committee meeting right now happening, talking about ICE after these recent deadly incidents in Minnesota.
Marriages and family relationships are legitimate, and we've changed regulations to employment authorization is no longer automatically extended. Now we require more frequent renewals so that we can vet aliens more frequently and ensure that they deserve to remain in the country. Additionally, we've taken action to end the exploitation of immigration programs. Mass humanitarian parole programs were being abused by the prior administration. So we've restored them to Congress's original intent, allowing those benefits on a case-by-case basis. Secretary Noem also ended decades of temporary protected status for several countries, returning the program to what Congress intended: temporary protection, not permanent status in the United States. Moreover, this administration is doing more to ensure the integrity of our elections. We enhanced the SAVE program so states can verify citizenship of those on their voter rolls more effectively. Since January 2025, we've processed over 58 million queries, and 27 states are participating. Additionally, federal agencies ran nearly 206 million SAVE queries last year to identify fraud and preserve public assistance benefits for lawful U.S. residents and citizens. We're also putting American taxpayers and communities and workers first. We affirmed that aliens should be self-reliant, not dependent on public assistance, and that their sponsors are liable for the cost of public benefits that they access. The Department of Homeland Security is also working to rescind the 2022 public charge rule, restoring our discretion to determine if an alien will rely on government assistance. We've proposed protecting American jobs by prioritizing H-1B visas for higher skilled, higher paid workers so that companies can't use those visas merely as a way to get cheaper non-citizen labor. We've also streamlined agricultural visa processing to better support American farmers. A major milestone was implementing the One Big Beautiful Bill, which added new fees for certain immigration processes. USCIS collects those fees, but only retains a small amount of the money, while the rest goes to other agencies and deficit reduction. Finally, protecting the American people is at the heart of everything we do. After the attack on 2 brave service members of the National Guard last November, Secretary Noem directed us to review immigration benefits for aliens from high-risk countries. In closing, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is restoring integrity.
Now we want to listen into the Epstein survivors set to speak alongside Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer from New York. They are unveiling some new legislation to eliminate the statute of limitations that has shielded traffickers and denied survivors their day in court.
Because they believe, as I do, that what happened to Virginia and to all the victims here today and throughout the world must finally lead to change. And all you have to do is look at the faces of these beautiful women and just have total empathy for what they've gone through, admiration for their courage, and anger about what happened to them. So, thank you. Today, we're here to do something simple and long overdue. Today, I'm introducing Virginia's law, legislation to end statute of limitation barriers that have kept survivors of sexual violence from justice far too long, and to create new legal avenues to pursue justice. Because justice should not expire. Justice should not expire. And because for survivors, healing does not run on a government clock. I'm also so proud to be joined by Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Hernandez, not just chairwoman of the Democratic Women's Caucus, but she's always been a fierce advocate for survivors and a partner in this fight. She's a champion and a fighter, and that's what a bill like this requires. A fighter who will relentlessly push for the cause of justice. Justice. That's what we demand, justice. And here is World Without Exploitation and Sigrid McCauley, whose work, along with the survivors, helped shape this legislation. We thank her. The bill exists. Why? Why does the bill exist? Because people refuse to accept silence as the end of the story. It's that simple. It cannot be when something this dastardly and this terrible and this heart-wrenching happens. For years, survivors of Epstein's abuse were ignored. They were doubted, they were silenced, they were dismissed. And even when the truth finally came out, even when the world finally listened, too many survivors were still told by the law, it's too late, your justice has expired. Not because the harm wasn't real, not because the abuse didn't happen, but because the system ran out the clock. When they were told, it's too late, your justice has expired, we aimed to change that. And that's what we're trying to do today. When you say the system ran out the clock, tough rocks, too bad, too late, that's not justice. That's a system that protects abusers by waiting survivors out. Our law, Virginia's law, changes that. It allows survivors to seek accountability when they're ready, when they're strong enough, supported enough, able to face the weight of civil litigation. Sometimes it takes years to recuperate from the horror that occurred. Why should the government say, well, we're setting an arbitrary time when you are able to pursue your case. Our law makes clear that abusers and those that enable them cannot escape responsibility by running out the clock. It makes clear that the law will empower survivors to pursue justice, and it recognizes something survivors have always known. Time does not erase harm. Time does not erase harm. Jeffrey Epstein depended on silence and fear, on a system that protected power instead of protecting people. Today we are saying no more. This bill carries Virginia Giuffre's name because she spoke when so many were told not to. And because her story and the story of the survivors standing here today, we salute you again, all of you, for your courage. These nice faces, it shouldn't have happened to you. It shouldn't have happened to you. So, no survivor should ever be told again that the law failed them and that time mattered more than truth. The survivors of Jeffrey Epstein have waited long enough. Virginia waited long enough. The time for justice is now, and Congress must act. So now let me call on our great leader in the House, Representative Teresa Leger Fernandez. Go.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Leader Schumer, for your amazing work on this issue, which is not new. You have championed these issues for many, many, many years in the House and in the Senate. But I want to also acknowledge the survivors. We have shed tears together because what happened was horrible. The cover-up and the abuse that continued by refusing to acknowledge the pain and the crimes and everything that happened was also an injustice. And that's what we are here to do today, to say that justice delayed is indeed justice denied. And one of the lines that the survivor shared with me early in the many meetings we've had, and it's a chilling warning that Jeffrey told them. He gave them this warning. He told the women and young girls, I have the government, I have the banks. In other words, you are powerless. Imagine hearing that from the man who abused you. Imagine being a young girl, a young woman already traumatized and being told that the system, the government, the institutions, the courts, the powerful are on his side. That he and those to whom you were trafficked are untouchable. That the world is made up of the powerful who are above the law, above reproach, and you are disposable as a mere object of sexual use and abuse. And for too long, those sexual predators have been protected by their wealth and power. And now, with the help of Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, the pedophiles and sexual predators are being protected by our government. But today we're one step closer to proving Epstein wrong. But this bill is bigger than Epstein. It's bigger than the abuse that the victims endured. It takes years for victims of abuse to feel safe enough to come forward. And time should never be a weapon in the abuser's arsenal. Virginia's law eliminates the statute of limitations for key federal civil claims brought by survivors of trafficking and sexual exploitation. It includes a look-back window, so survivors who were previously barred, who were told, no, you do not have access to the courtroom, so they have time to now go back and seek justice. And it clarifies that traffickers cannot escape accountability by committing abuses in another jurisdiction. You don't get to escape prosecution by simply putting predators and victims on a plane to a private island or a mansion in Florida, or a ranch in New Mexico. Because justice should not depend on a calendar. Justice should not depend on geography, and it should never depend on how powerful your abuser is. To Virginia Giuffre's family, thank you, thank you, thank you for letting us use her name in this law. It's her courage that we are honoring today with Virginia's law. Her courage unlocked the first set of gates that were protecting the rich and powerful. This bill will unlock the doors to the courthouse for the survivors. And to every Epstein co-conspirator and sexual predator, we're coming for you. And to Donald Trump and Pam Bondi, how dare you? How dare you use the Department of Justice, a government agency which by its name is intended to bring justice, to use it to prevent justice, to protect yourself and that predatory circle of abusers. And so I join with the senator and with the leader. Yes, let's pass this bill. Let's prove Epstein wrong. And now I want to recognize, as I was talking to Sky and Amanda Roberts, we talked about how they couldn't have imagined that this day would come. And we talked about how, yes, it's been a long journey. But before Virginia, there was one of those big arroyos or chasms that you see in New Mexico, right? There was no way to cross it. But what Virginia did was build a bridge. And now we are crossing that bridge because of the bravery and the words and the wisdom. And I'm sorry for the loss of Virginia. But she has left something so powerful for all victims. And so I now like to recognize Sky and Amanda well.
That was a tearjerker. I am the crier in my family. I'm just going to throw that out there. So, all right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sky Roberts, and I am the brother of Virginia Roberts Giuffre. I am deeply honored to stand here today alongside some of the most extraordinary people you will ever meet, including World Without Exploitation, Congressman Chuck Schumer, Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, and the legendary Sigrid McCauley. Known to many of us as Siggy. I want to begin with a single word. A word that meant everything to my sister. A word we will not stop fighting for until real justice is served. And that word is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. In a world that too often turns away from abuse and pushes it into the shadows, she wanted to bring light. That light is change. Virginia's dream was to inspire and empower survivors to come forward. One of the main missions of her nonprofit, SOAR, was to eliminate the statute of limitations on adult sex trafficking. She talked about it all the time while elevating the voices of survivors, alongside her publicist and dear friend, Deanie Von Muffling. Today, we give Virginia her voice back. We amplify the voices of survivors around the world. Today, we send a clear message to perpetrators everywhere by introducing Virginia's Law. We are introducing Virginia's Law because survivors deserve justice, not expiration dates. Change must mean justice, not someday, not in speeches, not in private settlements, justice in law, justice in court, and justice in the form of consequence. Virginia's law is more than legislation. It is a change in the truest form. It challenges how we see, how we confront, and how we respond to sexual abuse and sex trafficking, not just in theory, but in reality. We do not take this moment lightly. We are holding an overwhelming mix of grief, loss, and pride. And if our voices shake and our tears fall, it is only because of the depth of our love for our sister. Grief without action is another kind of silence, and Virginia did not survive what she survived just to be silenced again. And with that, I'd like to turn that over to my wife, Amanda.
Powerful words from Virginia Guthrie's family, one of the abused at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein, as they are passing new legislation today that will eliminate the statute of limitations that shields traffickers and denies survivors their day in court. Speaking of Epstein, so many folks have been caught up in these files, and now there's word that Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick may be in the files as well. He is responding this morning when being questioned by Senator Van Hollen. Let's listen.
Why did the Epstein files show you coordinating a meeting and planning a visit with Jeffrey Epstein on his private island in December 2012?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad to be here to make it clear that I met Jeffrey Epstein when I moved to a house next door to him in New York, right? And I met him then. Over the next 14 years, I met him 2 other times that I can recall, 2 times. And that is none for 6 years. So 6 years later, I met him. And then a year and a half after that, I met him, and never again. Probably the total, and you've seen all of these documents, of these millions and millions of documents, there may be 10 emails connecting me with him, probably about 10 emails connecting me with him over a 14-year period. I did not have any relationship with him. I barely had anything to do with that person.
The Epstein saga continues. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick there testifying before a Maryland senator who asked him the question and saying he barely had anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein, the 2 neighbors at a time. Reams, what else are we watching this hour?
Yeah, continuing on with the Epstein files, we're getting a lot of new information coming in about changes happening because of this. The latest one to note, Chapel Roan is now the latest artist to leave the Wasserman Agency. That's after the founder, Casey Wasserman, was found corresponding with Ghislaine Maxwell. Those were recently released last week. Those emails were from years before her crime came to light, and Wasserman has not been accused of any wrongdoing by the DOJ. Something interesting to note here, Wasserman also chairs the 2028 LA Olympic Games.
Yes.
He's now facing calls to resign from that role.
Right.
There's also been a lot internationally going on to this. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom facing calls to resign over one of his top aides' involvements with Jeffrey Epstein. Those calls seem to be declining a little bit. Also today, we're learning the Princess of Spain. Let me get this confirmed. Yes, sorry, Sweden. My apologies. The Princess of Sweden speaking today, saying that she met him being Jeffrey Epstein, in a couple of social situations, but she is grateful to have not had anything to do with him since those few occasions in her 20s, adding her thoughts go out to all the victims, hope there will be justice in this. So this is not just a U.S. politics thing. This is not just a U.S. entertainment. This is a worldwide, ongoing saga that will continue.
One day books will be written about it, and it'll be fascinating to see just how this was able to spread beyond